So the next thing I'm going to bring up here is a gaming segment. I like to play video games. I've been playing video games for a very long time. Pretty much my entire life is defined by video games. And one of these video games that I really appreciate is Halo. I love Halo. I grew up on the original Halo. I was going to Xbox tournaments, going to my friend's house, staying up all night on these crazy LAN parties where you would have 4 Xboxes with 4 players each, running Ethernet cables across people's houses that I've never seen or met before, where their parents were so nice to buy us all pizza and just lose our minds until 4 in the morning when everyone passes out. This was long before people decided to get drunk in my age range, so this was done completely sober. And when you can have that much fun sober playing the game, there's very few things that can trump that. Now, Halo CE, and then came Halo 2, which I remember skipping school to play its release, and I actually kind of remember a level of disappointment when Halo 2 came out. Not only with the multiplayer servers, for the first time going from like LAN only to an online co-op, that was incredible. Back where I used to live, they had only dial-up. I could not play online with Halo 2. I had to travel into town 30 minutes and bum a friend's house until he let me play. And then, of course, I just took over his house and played indefinitely. Eventually, all the complaints about Halo 2 got diminished and fell out of sight, and we just fell in love with all the problems, and it became the game itself. The scar became the person. And then Halo 3 came out. I remember distinctively, of course, everyone comparing Halo 2 to Halo 3, how much of a disappointment Halo 3 was relative to Halo 2. The internet was marred with problems trying to get online, yet again. There's no new game that can come out that's multiplayer based, and it's not gonna have connectivity issues. Almost none. You guys remember Diablo 3? What a nightmare. But that was far from the only one to experience that, but probably one of the more worst. Fallout 76. Fallout 76. So you might see where I'm going with this. Halo 2 had a problem, people loved it. Halo 3 had a problem, people loved it. Halo 4 eventually came out, nobody played it. They tried to revive it on the pro circuit, but it was only left to the dust for the campaign. Halo 5 came out. They really tried to push the multiplayer aspect of it, but you know what the problem with Halo 5 was? The problem is that it's a sequential game. It is number 5 in a series where it is said that number 6 will come out, and then number 7, and then number 8. Folks, you can't have an international competitive game where people invest their entire life to practice and get better than everybody else, only to come out with a new variation a few years later. Look at Counter-Strike Go. Look at League of Legends. Look at Dota 2. These are prime examples of games that grow with their audience and continue to harbor those who will keep a game running forever. A campaign can only be played so many times by so many people. It begins, it ends, you play it a few more times, you're done. That's it. A campaign can't continue. But when it's a multiplayer competitive game, there's one thing that can continue, and that is people's willingness to beat the pants off the other person. So whenever Halo 5 came out, I was really adamant about the idea of making a Halo game that reflects that of like Counter-Strike or League of Legends. Don't give me a League of Legends 2. Don't give me a Counter-Strike 2. I don't want that. I just want the same game updated. I know there are some sequels like Team Fortress 2, which no one ever plays anymore, but is a good example of we made a first one, wanted to perfect it a second time, but then left it at that. Look at Minecraft. Could you guys imagine for one moment if Minecraft decided to come out with Minecraft 2? What a joke that would be. And the only reason they would do it is to get more money from you. One of the biggest offenders of this is the original Halo development studio, Bungie. They came out with a game called Destiny once they left the umbrella of Microsoft. Now I never liked Destiny. I didn't like it because it focused more on PvE than it did PvP. Personally, I'm just a PvP guy. I love the excitement of competing against real human players for the most part. Don't get me started on IO games. They're all fake. But even the illusion of playing with a real player is better than that of saying, I'm playing with a random person and we're gonna go fight a bunch of AI bosses. Diablo, it kind of works out, but it doesn't really work in a Halo game, which, let's face it guys, Destiny is simply Bungie's excuse to take the theme of Halo under their own brand. And they did not do a successful job compared to Halo, which is why Microsoft is able to keep pumping that stuff out. And then Destiny 2 came out. I about lost my bananas when I found out Destiny 2 was coming out, because there was nothing in that game that really set apart from the first one. I remember the first one had so many years of development, so many expansions. It really fulfilled and developed the game. And then the second one went from here to here. It just dumped. And then they had to build it back up with more expansions, but you lose your audience when you keep coming out with the sequels. Look at Battlefield. How many Battlefields do they come out with, and the entire audience that buys Battlefield abandons the last multiplayer of Battlefield, and you're left with, a shadow of what it used to be. Yeah, you can still go on Battlefield 1 and have a good time, but it's way less populated than it used to be, and it's frustrating because Battlefield's a great game, and they keep releasing these sequels that people just chase after like a white dragon. I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you, and then right when they catch it, the sequel comes out for that, and then they're just left like, what the fuck? People feel cheated when they have to play and purchase a sequel to a game they've invested so many hours in. And if you're a PvP player like myself, there are very few elements that you can take from one sequel to another and, sell people on it. Call of Duty is by far the biggest offender of this. Tell me in the comments below if you think there has been a single Call of Duty in the past 10 years that has really made a difference online. And I'm not talking about wall running or sliding or watching fish swim in a stream. Those aren't features I'm talking about. I'm talking about maps. I'm talking about the guns and the way that they respond. I'm talking about the damage that you receive. There are so many games that introduce a gun that you can pay to win, and it just ruins it. So eventually, long story short, Halo finally releases Halo Infinite. And the purpose behind this game, at least originally, is the idea that they're going to release this game and they're going to release sub-games under this title, expansions or sequels, but it's always going to be called Halo Infinite. That's a perfect name. I swear to God, if they come out with Halo Infinite 2, I'm going to lose my mind. Now, Halo Infinite has not had its best start. There was a campaign. It was okay. Just watch it on YouTube. I don't even think they needed to come out with a campaign for this game. But nevertheless, they did. But I've only been playing multiplayer. I love competitive multiplayer specifically. I come from the MLG days, so when I go on there and I see Team Slayer Arena, I am excited. So I get in there and I just play over and over again the same games that I've always played. Yeah, they don't have the maps I love, but the mechanics are actually not that far off. There's a lot of features missing. A lot of people are complaining and upset about things like screen share missing. But folks, who cares? If you're playing screen share with somebody, you're honestly the minority. I understand where Halo got its origins from, but there are very, very few people these days that are still in the same physical environment as when Halo 1 and Halo 2 first came out. It was important to have split screen at that time, but it's not so much a big deal anymore these days. And before everyone freaks out in the comments, just understand it's gonna come. They wanted to get the feedback for it. They wanted to get these updates. Just be patient. I know the gaming community has almost negative patience, but when a developer decides to come through and actually make something worthwhile, it's upon us to revisit it and make sure it lives up to that mark. So Halo Infinite multiplayer is making headway. We've gotten a few maps, different things have happened, nothing too dramatic, but the important part is Microsoft is still focused on updating this. Guys, don't destroy Microsoft's feelings about Halo because it's not where we want it to be today. Go yell at Cyberpunk. These guys have ripped you off from day one. There was nothing in Cyberpunk. Every time I visit it with a new update, it's still the same problems. I may have one less bug than I did before, but the world of AI is the dumbest world I have ever seen. And yet I continue to see reviews appraising their updates. How can you go from garbage to less garbage, and people praise that. That's the world we live in, guys. So Cyberpunk's getting praised for being less trashy, while Halo is getting trashed on for being less than stellar. But if you're a true competitive player like I have been, you'll realize the core details are there in Halo. And this is important. So my prediction, and I know everyone's going to lose their mind, but over the next year, Halo Infinite multiplayer is going to trump that of any Halo that has ever come out. And I think we need to support this. Otherwise, we're going to have to support a re-released game every 3 years that we have to spend $60, $70 on just to take to the internet and get all pissed off about. So please, give Halo a chance. Love it like I love it. Even though I'm the minority on the internet, it's going to be great. Trust me.